So Kritika, a lot of people today are seeking help and guidance from gurus and teachers and seeking religious and spiritual help. And I'm just curious what you would say about that.
Okay, why do people go to God? They go to God to pray for well being, happiness, peace, money, whatnot. And what does God do? He creates. He creates the world, He creates the people in them, and He creates each and every aspect of the uh, life. So, if we want to enjoy happiness, we have to create the same world using the formulas that God uses to create this world. And that is what Vastu Shastra does. It is through this science of creation that we have to try to make the world happy through the construction of Vastu spaces, wherein people can enjoy the benefit of both spiritual and materialistic life. According to Dr. Stapati, he just says work is worship. When you do your work, you just enjoy uh, the inner peace and all happiness. So it's instead of us going behind any of the gurus, it's better that we turn to ourselves and study our inner consciousness and develop it so as to create a whole new world of Vastu.
So, this so it sounds like you're saying that we don't need to be seeking anything else. That we can, through the application of Vastu Shastra, we can find that inner peace that we're seeking. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And so Mayan talks about that an architect who follows this work gains enlightenment. It's written in the Eintrum. And I'm wondering if you have a thought on what your view of enlightenment is, or the Mayonic view of enlightenment.
Enlightenment is, I'm not so grown enough to speak about this word enlightenment, but as far as the Shastric aspect of this science is concerned, I would say that we can enjoy enlightenment by just living in the Vastu space. Not only the inner comfort, inner peace, uh, even in the materialistic aspect, our body will also be more healthier. And the main reason behind this enlightenment would be the Vastu space, which has the power to ward off the negative effects that would affect us. So once we are safe from the negative energy fields, our life is going to be happy. This is what would be uh, the real definition of enlightenment from Mayonic science of view.
Mm-hmm. So living a happy, successful, positive life,
Yeah.
Operating from our inner being.
Yes. And even if any obstacle is going to come, we will have the courage to face them.
Uh-huh.
So that energy is also supplemented by living in a Vastu space.
Uh-huh. That's great. The courage to face our life.
Yeah. If you're going to be in a sick building and if you fall sick, it is going to get worse. So when you are living in a Vastu house, and even if anything ill is going to happen to you, you will have the courage to fight against it and succeed as well.
So Mayan talks about the concept of bhakti, wherein the house vibrates, the thread of consciousness, the Brahma Sutra of the house vibrates, and that causes the Brahma Sutra of our Atman to vibrate. And when our Atman vibrates in coherence with the Brahma Sutra of the house, then is this what you would call enlightenment? And then the good effects follow?
Yeah, because our built environment, that is the Vastu house, is also a living organism. And it also has an Atma in it. So the living organism, when we start constructing the house, we just try to do all these ID calculations to bring a resonance between four spaces: the cosmic space, the earthly space or the outer space, the built space, that is a space within the building, and our inner space. So once there is a resonation between all these four spaces, we naturally will live a life of enlightenment.
It's as if there's less resistance, less friction in our life.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Huh.
It is a continuous stay, or the when you live in a Vastu space for a long period of time, you kind of experience it in a more in depth. You can have it.
So the effects are cumulative. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you came into this house, Vastu house, this morning you said to me that you could feel the vibration. What do you feel?
Basically, if I enter into a new space, I just and last night it was too late in the night also. Change of place will not give me a sound sleep at all. It will take hours for me to get settled. But here, as soon as I lay on the bed and closed my eyes, I went into deep sleep without any dreams. I just got up fresh in the morning. So that itself was one of the most beautiful things that I experienced in your house.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from that, the whole vibration, the calmness, the peacefulness, the lighting, the ventilation, both the physical aspects and the spiritual aspects, it's been really wonderful. I would even love to stay here for more days. Time had permitted.
Have a rest. Yeah, yeah.
I almost feel like calling it as a second home for me.
You're welcome to do that.
Next to my mom's place, this would be the best place.
Yeah, that's great. I thank you for saying that. Consider it your second home.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you had the experience of feeling in the cave of your heart a vibration in a Vastu building? Or is your sense, do you get a different sense? Different people experience different things. Mm-hmm. And I'm always curious about what different people...
I feel more a calmness.
Uh-huh.
It's not a very, it's like a silent, like as if you want to go into a deep meditation.
Uh-huh.
So that's the kind of feeling I get here.
Can you feel that localized anywhere in your body?
No.
It's just it's an overall.
It's an overall experience.
So it's an all-encompassing experience. Yeah, yeah. And some people look for some flashy thing. And I don't think it's necessarily flashy. I think it's it's kind of a sweet...
Yeah, it's just a flow throughout the body that you feel.
Yeah.
It's not just in any part.
What advice can you give students who are pursuing this knowledge as a study?
Firstly, I would appreciate them for considering to take up this science and study, because in this modern age where most of the students are opting for all modern technology and latest scientific subject areas of studies, choosing this subject is a very only people who are blessed can enter into this field of study. And I would ask them not to use this knowledge with half-handed experience. It would be better if they take in all the courses and complete the entire studies till they get the master's level done, so that they'll have enough knowledge to practice on a few buildings, around maybe 20 to 50 buildings, and then they can start thinking of teaching to other people. Before that, it is not at all advisable, because the ancient science is given to us by our ancestors, and it is considered to be sacred, and we don't want to mishandle the sacredness of this science. So what we have to do is first learn and then practice it, to see how people are enjoying to live in your creations. That was an experience that I had when I was working with Dr. Stapati. I used to sit and draft, but never was taken to site. And one fine morning, after the construction was over and the people were using that building for nearly 6 to 7 months, Stapati took me to their house one day and let me speak to the clients. They were so happy to see that I was a person who had designed that building, and they were telling all the experiences they had living in that house. Tears rolled down my cheeks.
Oh.
So that was the moment that I realized that I'm so blessed to have learned this great knowledge from Dr. Stapati. I'm still on the same path, continuing to do the service to people and seeing them enjoy. I'm also being happy. I would say call this also as an enlightenment.
It is an enlightenment, yeah. I feel that we have a very unique opportunity, because we actually studied with the man who brought back the ancient science. That for so many years, we don't know how long it's been, but a long time, all that remained was the technology, how to build, how to sculpt, how to, the measure, how to do the technology, but we didn't understand the fullness of the science.
The theory was totally hidden.
Yeah. As an architect, you started out with just understanding the technology. The bedroom goes here, the bathroom goes there, the brahmastan, this, that, kitchen, all of that.
No, it was the science that I learned first.
Oh, you learned the science. I was going to ask you that.
No.
What I was going to ask you is if once you learned the science, did it have more meaning? But no, you learned the science first.
See, for me it was more interesting because I did my bachelor's in architecture from a normal college in Chennai. So I did not have any background about this Vastu science until I did my thesis, which was a Vedic language, for which I had gone for guidance with Dr. Stapati, and the course went on well and I got my bachelor's. He asked if I was interested to continue with him, so I thought, okay, why not take a training for around 6 months or 1 year and then come back to my own architectural field. So I went for training. My training was like every day I had to come at 10 o'clock, sit in his office, wait for half an hour. And then around 10:30 he would call me. He would make me sit in his cabin, just as we are talking now. We'd be sitting opposite to each other. He would give me a paper and pencil and ask me to write what is Vastu. I have to write whatever I think about it. And I have to read it to him. He will explain what is right and what is wrong. And then gradually, every day from 10:30 to 12:30, 2 hours, the same thing used to be continuing. He used to talk about, he started with Om. That was his starting. What is this dot, he will ask. I'll say it's a dot. So that's the basic knowledge I had about it. And he said, no, this is the primal source. Then I would put a question, what is the primal source? Then he would start explaining. And how the primal source goes into vibration, how the consciousness manifest into form. All this process he used to teach me every day. This happened for nearly 2 to 3 months. And then one day he took me to the drafting section and put me in the team. And he started to first teach me how to draw the grid lines, the 8 by 8 and 9 by 9. That was the first drawing that I did in his studio. I was thinking, oh my God, I did bachelor's in architecture and he's just asking me to draw 8 by 8 and 9 by 9 grid. I used to think, why not we just run out and start doing our own practice with some other nice architect in Chennai. But somehow my guru, he had this talent, magnetism of attracting people. Even if I wanted to leave him, he would just pull back. So I'll be there the next morning. Even if he scolds me, even if he makes me cry, I'll be there in the next morning. So this is the way that it all started. The first the science, the theory part, and then the practice. So the practice was on and on for his books, all that I did, the illustrations, and then the clients, his clients. And I was doing free of cost. None of the clients would pay us. He would say, this is your experience. You are learning now, and this is not the time for you to charge money. And first it was very hard for me, but later as it went on, I knew that okay, I'm just learning now. And then at a stage I started thinking, why am I doing this, continuing this? And then that was the time when he took me to this client's place and I got the feedback from them. And then I realized, okay, this is where my life starts and I have to be there in it.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Let me ask you this in relation to what I started to ask. So you trained as a regular architect. Okay. So my question is, you had experience doing design and architecture, regular, normal, 21st century architecture, 20th century architecture. And then you learned this. You learned this science and art. What is the difference for you? What was the difference between just designing any old building versus designing using the Shastric knowledge with the underpinning of the deep science?
Okay, in simple words, if you could hear a toddler who is just beginning to speak, can you understand what he tells? And listen to someone who is very knowledgeable speaker. So the difference between these two was what I felt. In my bachelor's degree, what I was doing was just scribbling lines which had no meaning in it. They were just like a language without grammar. And later I started to realize that Vastu architecture had grammar in it. So once you know the grammar, you can frame beautiful sentences, which is what I started learning in that office of Dr. Stapati. So without grammar, how would your sentence be meaningful? We are here to make meaningful creations, not just creations. So I would say that this architecture has meaning in it, it has grammar in it, and if you follow the grammar perfectly, you're going to make wonderful creations.
And that those creations have a soul.
Yeah.
They have an Atman. Whereas random non-Vastu creations, no matter how beautiful, they have no soul.
They just have the aesthetic beauty. So basically the Vastu science gives Ramyam, Bhokam and Sukhadarsham, 3 terminologies that we very often use. Ramyam is the inner comfort or the inner peace. Bhogam is the physical comfort, and Sukhadarsham is the aesthetics. So what else do you need for a building?
Yeah, beauty, functionality, and spiritual well-being. Beautiful.
Most of the non-Vastu buildings will have beauty and physical comforts, but they will lack Ramyam. And how do we get Ramyam or the inner peace is through the calculations, mathematics. So we have to be very careful in the application of the measurements. Just calculations and drawings are not important. The drawings have to be followed, the measurements have to be incorporated on site in perfection in order to get the complete experience of it.
Yeah. Good. Thank you.